Welcome everyone to today's webcast, Project Portfolio Management 2.0, What's Missing in Today's PPM. My name is Ben Chamberlain. I'm responsible for the product management function at UMT. I'm excited today to show you UMT 360 for PPM, which can help you drive financial transparency across your project portfolio and optimize capital investments. Just a few housekeeping announcements. I have muted all lines. I may need to do that if other people join during the course of the session. We will be pausing at the end of today's session to answer any questions. We do have a moderator on the call as well, so if you have any questions, please raise them during the course of the presentation using the Q&A wizard in live meeting, and then we'll circle back at the end to answer any specific questions at the end. Okay, so hopefully everyone's hearing me well. A quick introduction on UMT for those of you that are not familiar. Over the last 20 plus years, UMT has been recognized for project portfolio management, integrated portfolio management, financial management, consulting excellence, and product innovation. UMT has gained unparalleled understanding of customer needs, both inside and outside of IT, by forming enduring relationships with Global 1,000 companies across a variety of industries. In addition to our consulting expertise, we provide integrated portfolio management solutions that seamlessly extend the Microsoft SharePoint and Project Server platform to help organizations gain financial transparency and improve investment decisions across their project, program, and asset portfolios. Over the last few years, UMT has received various awards and industry accolades, which we're very proud of. In 2012, we were recognized by Gartner as a cool vendor, specifically in the area of integrated program and portfolio management when they were looking at solutions that helped apply financial management best practices on top of project and portfolio management. We're also positioned as a visionary in last year's Gartner Integrated IT Portfolio Analysis Magic Quadrant, which basically is an emerging discipline that helps organizations effectively run the business of IT. We're also very proud to recently been awarded the Microsoft Worldwide Project and Portfolio Management Partner of the Year. So let's take a look at today's agenda. What I wanted to first do is jump in and look at some of the key challenges that we're faced with today's PPM and provide a high-level overview of integrated portfolio management and how that can help. We're then specifically going to jump into UMT 360 for PPM and look at one aspect of integrated portfolio management, how project and portfolio financial controls can extend your PPM processes and tools to drive financial transparency and help you optimize capital investments. Then pause for at the end with benefits and that Q&A that I mentioned. So let's jump into the main presentation. Although project and portfolio management as a discipline has evolved significantly over the last decade, companies still face a number of challenges. The Standards Group reports that today 21% of projects fail to be completed or never implemented. This basically means that 1 in 5 projects are failing. In the same report, Standards Group confirmed that 42% of projects are challenged, and they mean by that they're delivered late, or they're over budget, or they have diminished scope. Gartner reports that 33%, or 1 out of every 3 completed projects, experience cost overruns between 10 and 20%, and actually I think the average now is around 16.7%. And the PMI confirmed that 33% of projects fail to meet their goals or business intent. Admittedly, these statistics across industry averages, and the actual metrics may improve or even be worse for specific verticals or horizontal applications of project and portfolio management. Analysts may not agree on the exact value of each statistic, but they do agree we still have work to do to improve project delivery and optimize capital spend. So let's take a look at a couple of scenarios to understand the impact of these statistics. Let's just assess the impact from a cost or from a capital spend perspective. For simplicity, let's say we had a budget of $100 million, and we have a relatively even allocation of budget across the projects selected in our project portfolio. So that being said, if 21% of the projects fail, then we're automatically losing around $21 million. And if 42% of the project experience a cost overrun, let's say, of approximately 15%, then in turn we're sacrificing another $7 million. This means that $20 million or 20% of the capital expenditure is at risk of being wasted. Obviously, these calculations include a number of assumptions, and the actual cost of your failed projects or the projects that are experiencing cost overruns will have an impact on the actual amount of investment that is at risk in your organization. Next, let's assess the impact from a business value standpoint. The best technique I know really to gauge the amount of business value that can be delivered by projects in a portfolio is the efficient frontier. The efficient frontier was introduced by Harry Markowitz to model risk versus return when investing in stock portfolios. In the late 1990s, UNT repurposed this technique to help companies select project portfolios that deliver the maximum business value under varying budget constraints. The efficient frontier itself is calculated using cost estimates for each project and by deriving a project's business value based on how it impacts a prioritized set of business drivers. As you can see, the curve on the efficient frontier represents the maximum business value that can be achieved at each investment level, so business value on the Y, and the spend, in this case, capital investment on the x-axis. You can never go above the curve or the efficient frontier, but interproject dependencies and other resource constraints will result in your portfolio falling short and not reaching the efficient frontier. The efficient frontier also shows the point of diminishing returns, and the point the curve starts to flatten out, you're spending significantly more money to gain little or not as much value. So let's actually go back to our scenario and plot this on the efficient frontier. Although we had a budget of $100 million, it is likely, as you probably have in any planning horizon or planning period, that you receive project requests that exceed this constraint. But let's just assume that we had a wish list of projects totaling $150 million. So another way to look at this is for $150 million, I'm able to get 100% of the value from all the projects included in my portfolio. So let's go back to our scenario. So based on $100 million, if we actually look at the efficient frontier here, the best we can actually achieve here is around 80% of the value from the portfolio. Now let's consider that this is our selected project portfolio, the project portfolios the projects that we select for the upcoming year. So we're getting 80% of the overall value from this selected portfolio. So let's take a look at what would happen if we lost $21 million due to failed projects or projects that were never implemented. So we can work back to hit the efficient frontier, and we can see we're gaining around 56% of the overall value from the portfolio. Next, if we overlay the $7 million loss from projects that are experiencing cost overruns, you can see we further degrade the value to around 49%. This is an overall drop of around 31% in overall business value. And so if we compare that to the overall portfolio value, but if we actually compare it to the selected portfolio value of 80%, it actually equates to close to 40%, 39%. And apologize, the 39 is not shown fully on your screen here. So these last two scenarios are extremely alarming, at least to me. Companies not only at risk of needlessly wasting capital investments, but also failing to deliver approximately 40% of the planned business value. Not realizing this value limits the company's ability to drive efficiencies, reduce costs, deliver innovation that ultimately is going to help them grow their business. It's also important to understand how people with different functions or roles in an organization view projects and the PPM process at large. So if you were to ask a member of the PMO to describe a project. They may have a tactical perspective and refer to it as a set of deliverables, a schedule, or activities that consume scarce resources. They will usually mention money or budget, but it tends to be a sort of secondary variable or descriptor. Conversely, if you ask an executive to describe a project, he or she will most likely have a strategic perspective and refer to it as an investment or a strategic initiative that will transform the business and deliver a competitive advantage. Ultimately, projects are all about money and the value they deliver to the business. PMOs must evolve to view projects as a business investment and take responsibility for managing and optimizing the capital spend, in addition to improving the other core capabilities included in PPM, capabilities like resource management, schedule management, and other familiar capabilities. In turn, executives must acknowledge that PPM has evolved into a strategic discipline that helps automate and streamline the entire capital planning process. This will be the last statistic I throw at you today, I promise. Gartner reports that over the last 13 years, organizations invested approximately $30 billion in project and portfolio management. But on average, the company's PPM maturity level has only risen from 1.37 to 2.33 out of a potential score of 5. As this statistic and certainly the last few slides suggest, a new approach is definitely required. But let's take a look at how project management has evolved over the last decade or so. In the early 2000s, organizations were relying on sort of standard project management and resource management capabilities to successfully deliver projects on time to the right quality, etc. In the mid-2000s, organizations started to adopt portfolio optimization techniques, which basically said, hold on, let's look at selecting the right projects and then continue to build on techniques to deliver them effectively. Today, organizations are augmenting their PPM process by adopting integrated portfolio management best practices to drive financial transparency and improve investment decisions. Integrated portfolio management includes two distinct disciplines that can be deployed in a phased manner. The first, project and portfolio financial controls, helps to manage and optimize capital spend. And the second, integrated portfolio analysis, that helps go beyond project and portfolio management to effectively manage all portfolios in your business and technology architecture and drive transparency across both operational and capital spend, so all spend. So let's take a look at each of these in detail, but for the majority of today's session, we're actually going to focus solely on the first, project and portfolio financial controls. As shown in this diagram, financials plays a key role at each stage in the capital planning or PPM lifecycle. For example, at the strategy stage, includes approval and allocation of top-down budgets by line of business or department, so locking down your top-down budgets. In the different trade select and plan stages, includes the ability to build accurate and reliable cost and benefit estimates and effectively evaluate competing initiatives and streamline funding approvals. So financial is key there too. In the manage stage, we look to track cost performance by period, both at the project level and at the portfolio level, and manage any incremental funding requests. In the evaluate stage, in addition to doing post-mortems on projects, they want to establish a benefits realization framework to understand if each project delivered the anticipated results. So, of course, there's a lot more that goes on in the standard PPM lifecycle, but financials really does play a key role during the whole PPM lifecycle and before and certainly after. So integrated project and portfolio financial control helps you extend your PPM process to streamline budgeting and planning and optimize capital spend. We're certainly going to run a number of other sessions that go far deeper into this second discipline of integrated portfolio management, integrated portfolio analysis. Integrated portfolio analysis techniques help companies go beyond PPM to gain financial transparency and improve investment decisions across all portfolios that comprise their business and technology architecture. Understanding the unique relationships and dependency between product and service portfolios, business processes, and IT assets basically helps executives to optimize all spend at both operational and capital expenditure. Assess the performance and business value of each asset. The same way we said we really got to look at projects as a business investment, we've got to look at the assets as business investments too. Finalize lifecycle decisions and understand cross-portfolio impact, communicate transformation roadmaps, and improve the quality of the resulting project amount. As I said, we are going to have other sessions to go deeper into integrated portfolio analysis. A great way of learning more about integrated portfolio analysis, you can actually go to our website and take a look at a solution, UMT 360 for IT. This solution basically helps organizations run IT like a business by connecting and unifying the different key portfolios of IT, projects, applications, infrastructure, and services. Allows them to look at these services through a business lens by understanding how much you're investing in them and then making transformation decisions that align to actual business needs. And again, this technique can be applied to any asset portfolio. That's just a great example of how it can be applied in the context of IT. So, actually I'll pause actually because we have a couple of polls. Petra, if you could load the polls for me at the time, thank you. So first poll, which tools do you currently use today to manage your project portfolios? Choices are Microsoft Excel, Microsoft SharePoint Server, Microsoft Project Server, a PPM tool from another vendor, or none of the above. So close it down another 5 or so seconds. Close the poll, take a look at the results here. So, if you look here, 21% of the population still relying on Excel as the de facto project management tool, and even maybe stretching it in terms of project and portfolio financials too. Now, again, we certainly see that a lot. SharePoint Server is certainly used in many organizations for kind of lightweight project management, task management, but obviously. Large proportion of you on the call are leveraging pure play PPM tools, whether it's 34% who are using Microsoft Project Server, 29% using other tools, and 6% are using no tools whatsoever. So that's great. And we have one more poll. So which statement best describes where you are on your PPM journey? I'll read them out for you. We rely on project and resource management techniques to effectively deliver projects. So that's, if you remember the chart I just showed, that was in the what was occurring in the early 2000s, let's say. We've adopted project and portfolio management capabilities to select and deliver the right projects. We've deployed or started to deploy project and portfolio financial controls. We're interested in employing integrated portfolio management best practices. Keep it open for another few seconds. Okay, we can close the polls. So looking at the results here, 23% of people on the call are really focusing on sort of standard project management and resource management capabilities to execute projects effectively. 33% have overlaid and adopted portfolio optimization techniques in addition to those project management techniques. A good number here, 34% have started to deploy and integrate project and portfolio financial controls with their PPM toolset. And 9% of you are interested in learning more about the collective integrated portfolio management, which is great. I'm going to assume also that the 34% of you integrating the first phase of project and portfolio financial controls may well be on the journey for full integrated portfolio management too. So that's great. So let's I can return now to the slides. Just the kind of, theoretical portion of the presentation. Let's jump in and look at how UMT 360 for PPM can help you deliver integrated project and portfolio financial controls. UMT 360 for PPM basically combines project, portfolio, and financial management best practices to deliver a powerful integrated portfolio management solution. UMT 360 is built on Microsoft SharePoint Server and seamless integration with Microsoft Project Server to help organizations get even more value from their platform investment. When I think about the UMT 360 for PPM capabilities, I can distill it down into the sort of following 5 areas, but also provide a comprehensive framework for integrated project and portfolio financial controls. So standardized financial controls and unifying disparate data, improve budgeting and streamline funding approvals, track cost performance and manage change requests, drive transparency and take corrective action, and measure results and drive improvements. We're going to have a quick slide on each of these. And actually, we're going to jump into a demonstration and see some of this in action. So first, standardized financial controls and unified disparate data. To be able to drive real financial transparency across your project portfolio, you first must standardize financial controls and look at unifying data from disparate systems. UMT 360 for PPM basically provides the ability for you to standardize your different financial structures, be that cost structures, benefit structures, or any additional structures. It also provides the flexibility for you to build different templates that can be applied to different types of projects. Maybe you want slightly different financial structures when applying to a business project versus an IT project, or whether you want to give a level of autonomy to different lines of business, but still maintain those enterprise standards to drive reporting and other governance controls. Something that is key to me when I think about establishing the financial controls is the concept of financial amplification. When you look at a project's life cycle, you require more and more financial information as it progresses through that workflow. So a good example of that is early in the project's life cycle, and maybe you're doing a high-level business case. You may mandate that you only require level 2 to be completed in the financial structure, and only require yearly level of time granularity to be captured. But later in that planning life cycle, let's say in the detailed planning, you may require more information by month, a level 4 within the financial structure. So the ability to be able to standardize the behavior and rules and events that occur at each stage in the workflow is paramount to your success. Today, a number of organizations are also relying too much on Excel, just as our survey shows, disconnected Excel sheets to manage project and portfolio financials. This, of course, is okay. It makes it very difficult to be agile and effectively report across data that is not really consolidated. By standardizing your financial controls and consolidating information within your PPM system, you're providing PPM stakeholders and executives with financial information at their fingertips to drive transparency. It's also important, obviously, to integrate with systems of record like ERP systems such as SAP, Oracle, Financials, to make sure the right data is pulled from these systems of record at the right time. So next, improve budgeting and streamline funding approvals. Let's think of this as really during the business case stage of a project lifecycle. We really want to improve the accuracy and reliability of the cost and benefit estimates that we're producing for our candidates or potential project requests. The first thing UMT 360 for PPM helps you do is basically drive both top-down and bottoms-up budgeting. You have the ability to capture and manage budgets at different levels within the hierarchy that you establish. Maybe you want to maintain an enterprise-wide budget, specific budgets for different departments in the organization. Maybe you want to capture program-level budget as well as capturing the underlying project-level budgets too. And also have the ability to compare and contrast the top-down and bottom-up budgets by rolling up the project budgets back to the high levels based on the hierarchy, back to the program level, back to the organization level, and so forth. The solution allows you to really break down financial information in a time-phased manner, both cost and benefit, and also dynamically sync with Microsoft Project Server, whether you're using resource plans or the project plans themselves, to aggregate resource assignment costs, which obviously saves time. You also have the ability to break down cost estimates by funding source, so I can specify which business units or departments potentially will be funding these projects and allocate the funds or allocate the costs accordingly. Many of our customers establish auditable snapshots throughout the process. It's an auditable record of financials as they move through different phases of the life cycle. So a phase 1 cost estimate, a phase 2 cost estimate, and so on. It's also important to be able to establish the different rules around funding approvals. Who has the approval authority to approve what type of project, what value of project, make sure those notifications are driven to the right people at the right time to improve the throughput through the process. But ultimately, this results in more accurate and reliable cost estimates that can be locked down before we move into execution. So next, track costs, performance, and manage change requests. So if we think we've moved on now to where we're actually executing and managing the projects, it's very important to establish a periodic financial status reporting process. Maybe you're going to report on financials on a monthly basis, which the majority of our customers seem to do. To be able to pull in actuals from ERP systems, compare with budget, accurately reforecast the remaining cost of projects to derive real-time variances. Obviously, as we described earlier, cost overruns are a reality of life. So having a governance process to deal with incremental funding requests and have them managed appropriately is of paramount importance too. Because we have the ability to break out costs by funding source or department, we also have the ability to facilitate chargeback reporting and showback reporting. One of the advantages of being built on top of the Microsoft SharePoint platform is you get access to the powerful Microsoft BI reporting tools at our disposal, whether it's using Excel services, SQL reporting services, performance point services, and really the list goes on. So familiar tools allowing you to quickly build reports and dashboards that surface financial information alongside the other project metadata included in the system. You're also able to track performance not just at the project level, but at the portfolio level, and also establish key goals and metrics. For example, you may want to look at tracking your CapEx and OpEx ratios over time, fixed versus variable costs, or whatever other metrics that you want to track at the portfolio level. By tracking the portfolio level, we can proactively identify early warning indicators and drill down to take corrective action. Last but not least, measure results and improve the overall process. Now, far too long, the business case has been used really as a device or a mechanism to get projects approved or funded. But we spend less time actually looking back to understand whether we achieved the results that project was proposing or was anticipated to drive. So the Unity 360 for PPM allows you to establish a benefits realization framework. It allows you to track benefits in addition to tracking the other financial structures that you may have deployed, like costs. Flexibility here allows you to track benefits at different levels. You could track program-level benefits that basically track all the underlying project benefits. You can look at tracking benefits of projects at a different granularity for your tracking costs. So maybe I'm tracking costs on a monthly granularity but beyond the life of the project, I want to track benefits on a quarterly or yearly granularity. By establishing a benefits realization process, you're really driving accountability and in turn helping to improve estimating accuracy, because people realize you're going to go back and look at what they were entering into the system. Once you get a year or so into deploying the integrated project and portfolio financial controls processes, assuming you set up the right benchmarks at the start of the initiative, you're really going to start to see interesting information that helps you improve the overall process. For example, if you're able to snapshot and keep an auditable record of different phases of the project's cost estimates, we can go back and look at when the project's complete. We can go back and look at how accurate they were. We can develop organizational intelligence that shows us, okay, at phase 1 I was plus or minus 50% accurate. With phase 2 I'm now plus or minus 25% accurate. And we can factor that into our overall capital planning process. Or we can establish initiatives to help improve the reliability and accuracy of our cost estimation. We can track the percentage of projects completed successfully. We can look at average cost overruns of projects. We can track benefit realization. The list really goes on. But by establishing those key benchmarks, you can go back over time, look at that empirical evidence, and really build initiatives to improve your overall project and portfolio financial control process. So, having said, I'm going to jump into a quick demonstration. We'll highlight some of the things that we saw in those slides. I just need to share the demonstration image. Currently looking at Unity 360 built on top of Microsoft Project Server and SharePoint here. So by establishing all the financial controls I mentioned, one of the things is to drive financial transparency and build interesting reports and dashboards. So why don't we start at the end game, start with the report. Here we can see a number of different PPM and other reports span the different portfolios that we may be managing. But let's just focus on PPM for now. We'll just take a look at two: an investment planning dashboard, as well as the cost tracking dashboard. Just want to make sure that you're seeing everything I see on my screen. Seems to be good. Let's start with the investment planning dashboard. This is, wait for it to come up. Okay, you should be seeing it now. This is an example of a dashboard that could well be used by a steering committee, let's say on a quarterly basis, to look at the available budget and which projects they want to fund. Here we're basically seeing a dashboard that is showing all projects that have been funded, broken down by across the enterprise, or broken down by different departments or line of business within the organization. So I can drill down here to Americas. So basically what we're seeing here is the difference between the approved projects at the top pie chart here, projects that have been approved and projects that are carried over from the previous period, and projects that are still pending. If we compare that with the line chart on the top right-hand side here, you can see how we're able to pull in the organizational budgets. I mentioned before the ability to capture top-down budgets in the system. So we're able to look at what the full organizational or enterprise-wide budget is versus the budget that's been, or both of the projects that have been committed. And we can still see that we have available funds to fund additional projects. Additional projects here are displayed at the bottom of the table. So in the steering committee meeting, you can make decisions which projects to fund on an ongoing basis. Other interesting things about this dashboard are things like this stacked bar chart here. This is basically showing the different business drivers that have been prioritized in the organization. It's showing them in the prioritized order, and also showing the relative investment coming from the selected or funded project portfolio
relative to the importance of the business drivers. So, for example, we can see we're slightly underinvesting in the top business driver. We're over-investing in the third business driver, improve product quality. So you can use this as a gauge to make sure that your capital investment is aligning back with your business priorities. So again, this is an example of a dashboard that could be used in the steering committee review meeting to see which projects are funded and which projects are still pending to be funded, engage available budget. Let's jump down now to the project level to see projects that are in a business case stage. So I'm going to open up the Innovation Management Framework project. So as I said earlier, it's extremely important to integrate your financial rules and controls with the workflow. As we can see here, we're currently in the define phase, which is where this workflow has been set up. This is where we expect a high-level business case to be established. Now remember, we've established the financial rules and controls and specific behavior we want to see at each stage in the workflow. Now, there are a number of deliverables that are due to be completed for this project, whether it's high-level project information, strategic impact assessments, or other such deliverables. But what we're looking at really is the integrated financials. So let's take a look at some of the stuff coming from UMT 360, cost estimates, benefit estimates, associations, and financial analysis. So within my PPM system, I have integrated financials. So I can drill down into my cost estimates here and take a look at what's going on. Okay, defaulting to the entire project. Let me just change that. Okay. So what you're seeing here basically is project costs broken down for this project. Look at the standardized financial structure that is being shown here. Now what is interesting is based on expand it to the right level, based on the governance process, users are being prompted to enter information by quarter and at level 4 within the financial structure. So you can determine what level of information is captured at different points in the process. You also have the ability to view information in varying currencies. So the full currency for this particular project is Great British Pounds, but I can also USD, but I can change to Euro or other currencies that are being managed in the system. We also spoke about the ability to look at allocations. So I can easily now break down the total cost of this project by funding source. You can do this on a percentage or absolute basis. We can see here that one of the departments in the Americas business is funding the project at 60%. There's a department in EMEA that's also funding the other 40%. You can do this on a percentage or on an absolute basis. So basically, got our cost estimates locked down. Now, because I don't have a huge amount of time to show you things today, I haven't run the full demonstration. What this symbol over here denotes next to the labor, internal employees, consultants, and offshore, is that it's actually integrating with the PPM system. It's pulling the resource assignment cost directly from the PPM system and aggregating it based on rates into the time-based financials, allowing the project manager not to have to key in resource information twice and then enter other financial information for software, materials, whatever it may be, directly within the grid. So we've locked down our cost estimates. Let's take a look at benefits. So here we're seeing the benefits. Again, it's already been entered. Again, notice the fact that the user is being prompted to enter information by year and at level 2 within the financial structure that's been defined. And here we can see the different rows within level 2. But they're not penalized. If they have more information to add, and simply drill down to the lower levels and enter more granular information at this stage in the process. But we are enforcing the fact that level 2 information is required and yearly information is required for the benefit information. So we've locked down both our cost and benefit information in the system, which allows us, obviously, to derive different metrics, ROI, NPV, and other metrics that you would imagine. One of the things I didn't really mention in the slides is the ability to associate and manage relationships between entities in the system. And this is really key to UMT 360. So I click on the Association tab. So I'm going to keep it very simple for this particular example. We can see how this project is actually linked to a corresponding program. So the Innovation Management Framework project is associated with the Global Innovation Program. So we can map that functional relationship. We can also aggregate financials from that project back to the program. This gets more complex in different scenarios where maybe you want to look at which programs the project is associated to, also maybe which applications the project supports and so forth, and break down financials differently. So aggregate 100% of the cost to my program, aggregate 50% of the cost to application 1 and 50% of the cost to application 2. For the associations, you keep a sort of heat map of what this project is associated with. I can actually roll up now to view the program that it supports. Again, what's interesting here is you can have a workflow specifically to manage the program itself. So it's a living and breathing independent entity in its own right. As I mentioned during the presentation, you have the ability to capture top-down budgets and bottom-up budgets. I mentioned earlier about capturing organizational budgets. Here we can see at the program level, we're actually able to isolate program budgets and benefits. So capture true top-down budget at the program level, which maybe is used to fund and approve that program. If I look at the cost estimates P1 and P2 here, this actually represents financial information from the bottoms up, being aggregated from the associated projects. So information you can see here. So if I go back to the associations due to this program, what we should see is obviously it has more than just one project associated with it. We see the Innovation Management Framework project and the other projects that are aggregating financial information back to that program. So the ability to manage the relationships and dependencies between different entities and aggregate financial information through that model is really key. To go to the financial analysis, we looked at reports at the portfolio level, but of course you want to also derive entity level or project level reports too. Here we see a pretty simple report looking at being derived off the data that was previously entered. Total cost, now 1.3 million. You can see costs broken out by different levels in financial structure, one-time recurring cost and recurring costs. Could easily pull out CapEx, OpEx here too, if that's what you wanted to see. And looking at the simple financial metric here, ROI. Based on those cost allocations, the percentage cost allocations, we can see who is funding this particular project. And of course, looking at things like payback period based at the cost, the cumulative cost and benefit estimates. So what's key to me is if we look at this project, the financials is integrated alongside the other metadata maintained for this project, whether it's basic description of information for the project. Later in the life cycle, we'll see schedule and resource information. But the financial information is integrated within that framework. As I mentioned, the workflow really controls the financial behavior. So what I'm going to do now is actually submit this. I'm just thinking of a screen refresh issue. I'm going to actually submit this project, and hopefully we've completed all the required deliverables for this phase, and we should move to the next gate. Let's refresh the screen. Okay, let me try and force that change. I'll try one last thing. I'll just reopen my project. Apologies, my demonstration environment is slowed down temporarily. This is returned back to the Innovation Management Framework project, which you can now see is actually residing in the select gate. So we now also visually see that within the workflow. So why is this important? As I said, the workflow controls what happens from a financial perspective. So if we return to our cost estimates view, this grid is now not editable. To show you that, I'll need to try and edit it. So you're now unable to edit this particular grid. What else we should see here, if I move to snapshots, is by moving between those workflow stages, an automatic snapshot was taken, keeping an auditable record of those financials. So here we see the auditable snapshot was taken, phase 1 budget, and it captured the following information: benefit, cost information, and other values that we determined to be included in that snapshot. And we can keep that for posterity. So again, based on the workflow stage, we can control behavior and drive different actions. So let's fast forward in the process and take a look at the project, not in business case, but let's take a look at the project that's in execution. So we'll jump forward into execution. So to do that, I'll just close that down and change the view. Filter by projects that are in execution. Like the Health Assessment Reporting Tool project. We can see we're in the execute stage. Of course, this project has moved on. Additional deliverables and artifacts are now applied to it, like the schedule, the resources, etc. We can still see how financials is integrated within this view. So as we moved into execution, the budget was locked, both for costs and benefits, and we can now start tracking financial performance. The first thing I'll show is actually the financial status report. This is the report we looked at previously for the original project. The difference is this is built off the different snapshots as we move through the different funding gates, and we can compare the phase 1 and phase 2 budgets. So if we look at phase 1 here, we can see the cost was 3.7 million, and phase 2 the cost went up to 3.9 million, and we can see the difference between that. We can assess the difference between who's funding the project and the different payback periods, etc. But this is coming from snapshot data. One thing to take a look at is the ability to build financial status reports. So you have the ability here, I'll just edit this, to build a periodic financial status report. The execution granularity here is set to month, so every month you're going to produce a financial status report, capture the actuals. The actuals can be pulled in from an ERP system, manually entered, or pulled in from different time-sheeting systems. The benefit here is that we can dynamically compare with the budget and the forecast, that we can reforecast costs too, and derive real-time variances. Each status report, once submitted, is archived, so you can actually go back in time to see an auditable record and build trending analysis, looking at cumulative costs. So based on that metadata, let's just take a look at one report showing the cost performance. Again, here we're looking at a report showing key performance indicators for a project. We're looking at financial information here. You can see this, the original budget for this project, no approved change requests. If we look at the forecast, we're actually exceeding the budget. This may be a good candidate for raising a change request through and requesting incremental funding. You can see cumulative costs and other variance charts. So very easy, if you want to raise a change request, you can simply come in, leverage a change request mechanism to raise, approve, and administer those change requests. Again, short on time today, so I'm not going to do that now. So, of course, the last thing I'll do is I'll return back to the overall portfolio report. We'll just take a look at a cost tracking dashboard that is summarizing all the information projects that are in execution. So again, we were looking at entity-level views there. Now we're rolling up to the portfolio level, able to track actual budget versus forecast. We're able to look at variance over time, look at different performance by projects that have been funded by different lines of business, as well as drill down and see underperforming projects here. This table sorted by projects from a variance perspective. So, with that, I'm going to return to the slides. Particularly Unity 360 for PPM. One thing to know is Unity 360, as I mentioned earlier, is built on the Microsoft platform, built on SharePoint with integration with Microsoft Project Server. And you have the ability to apply the financial management capabilities of Unity 360 across any storage object in SharePoint, whether that's a list, a site, or an enterprise project type. It's very easy to administer and get up and running pretty quickly. So everything you saw was based on the web part infrastructure, the same way you'd manage any web part in SharePoint or Microsoft Project Server. You simply do the same with Unity 360 to configure your environment. And we summarized a lot of the benefits as we were going through Unity 360 to BPM. Again, today we really only looked at the integrated project and portfolio financial controls and how that really helps you gain control and visibility across all your project portfolio and capital spend. I'm not going to go through these in detail, but obviously by integrating project and portfolio financial controls, you are going to drive financial transparency and do a better job of managing your capital spend. So what should you do next? Well, today, please ask any questions using the Q&A manager. The slides and recording of today's session will be made available. Over the next week or so, I challenge you to go back to your organization and assess how well you're integrating financials across your PPM process. Over the next 30 to 60 days, feel free to contact UMT, schedule an on-site or virtual workshop where we'll help you to see how Unity 360 can help integrate financial controls within your current PPM process. So that, I'd like to thank you for your time today. We're approaching the top of the hour. As mentioned, we will pause now for any questions that you may have. So please post them to the Q&A wizard. I think I can even open the lines too. Let me see if I can do that.
The leader has unmuted your line.
Okay. I've unmuted lines as well. That may have been a mistake, but let's see. So if you want to shout out questions too, you certainly can. So I'm going to start looking at the questions that are in the Q&A wizard.
Another project.
So first of all, this question is Unity 360 available for Microsoft Project Server 2013? The answer is yes. Unity 360 is compatible with Microsoft Project Server 2010 and 2013, but also compatible with SharePoint Server 2010 and 2013 too. I'm actually going to mute lines. That was a mistake by me. So I'm going to mute all the lines.
The leader has muted your line. To unmute your line, press #6.
How do you measure business value? That's a question from Kathleen. So different ways to measure business value. When we looked at business value today, and I didn't show that in the demonstration, there was actually in the business case a form called strategic impact. In that form, basically houses a set of prioritized business drivers that are actionable and measurable and articulate the organization's sort of strategic objectives. So basically in that strategic impact form, you get the opportunity to specify the contribution that project will have, or the impact each project will have against each of the prioritized business drivers. And this, in turn, helps to derive a strategic value or business value score for each of the projects. And that can be used in an optimization process by optimizing the business value versus cost. Right? So that's one technique, and a technique that's available in Microsoft Project Server to deriving business value for a project. That could be just based on the strategic impact against business drivers, or you could even come up with, sort of weighted average scores that look to comparing business value with financial value versus risk, and use that as an overarching priority score too. Through the demo, a question from Jean-Claude here. Through the demo, we always see costs as an investment required for projects and tracked in a tool. The reality is that we have to split costs through the life cycle in OPEX and CAPEX. How do we take this into consideration and manage it? And this can be done in a variety of ways. We sometimes see customers actually breaking out CAPEX and OPEX within the financial structure itself. So in the demonstration I showed you, you kind of saw a structure that had total cost and then one-time and recurring cost as the next level, and then other cost nodes residing under the one-time or recurring. One way of doing it is to build CAPEX and OPEX into that financial structure. So maybe you have total cost, then CAPEX, and then corresponding nodes under the CAPEX, and then OPEX on the same level as CAPEX, and associated nodes under OPEX, and you break out costs that way. That's one way of doing it. In let's say, context of IT, where maybe you're looking to be compliant with SAP 98.1, another way of doing it would simply be to capitalize the costs of different phases of the project's life cycle. So some phases that can capitalize, some cannot. So the solution is flexible to meet different ways that you want to do this. But we definitely see CAPEX and OPEX being broken out during the life of the project. So just pausing to see if there are any other questions in the system. Question on how is UMT 360 different to Oracle financial modules related to project management? Now, I'd have to drill deeper, and maybe this is a question I can come back to you offline, because I haven't got a great familiarity of Oracle financial modules relative to project management. How I will answer that is generally from sort of an ERP perspective. Now, what we're trying to do is integrate financials with your PPM system, and we do see ERP systems such as Oracle Financials, or certainly our customers integrate with Oracle Financials and SAP to make sure that you have access to financial information in your PPM system in the way that you want to see it. The financial information may come from SAP just as you're executing a project, whereas you may do the initial budgeting directly within your PPM system, the same place that you're using to build the schedule, estimate the resources, and also integrate the financials versus other systems. So again, really we're looking to consolidate and unify financial information from disparate systems within a PPM system, provide executives, analysts, and project stakeholders the right financial views at the right time. Another question, to what extent can we customize the software? Now, customize is always a challenging word because there's a lot of flexibility. So customize to me means, you require a developer and you're extending the solution. Now, for that, of course, we have supported APIs. It's very easy to extend, just like it is with SharePoint or Microsoft Project Server. But, customize can also be taken as how configurable is your solution. And the solution is very flexible and configurable. For example, everything that I showed you was configured by an administrator. The ability to define the workflows, the ability to associate the appropriate financial rules and controls to each stage in the workflow, the ability to define any number of financial structures. So all those cost nodes that I showed you were defined by the administrator. The the ability to define different, what we call financial dimensions, budget, actuals, forecast, whether that's dimensions at the organizational level for capturing organizational budget or dimensions at the project level. So there's a huge amount of configuration flexibility before you even get to the point where maybe you need a bidirectional integration with ERP, which may require a level of customization, which means a need of development assistance. So other questions that I see here, and I'll wrap this up in a second, is we'll be able to download the recording. Yes, I believe you will receive an email with access to the recording within 24 to 48 hours, and also a copy of the slide deck. Is this session available for PDUs? If you reach out to the UMC campaigns team, they will certainly confirm that for you. So one last question around change the cost items. So, again, it's about, I think that relates to the configuration side of things. Yes, it's very, very easy to change the cost items. So, relating back to questions, a couple of questions ago, if I wanted to change level 2 to show CapEx, OpEx versus one-time versus recurring, it's very easy to do that. As an administrator, I can do that when establishing my financial structure, or even I can change, I can rename nodes within my structure. I can even move nodes within my structure. So I know we're 5 or so minutes over time. Again, I want to thank you for your participation. Please take the opportunity to fill out the survey. I know it's been posted while I've been answering these questions. Certainly helps us improve these events going forward. So any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is bchamberlain@umc.com, bchamberlain, CHAMBERLAIN @umc.com. I'll show you a slide with that, but I don't want to interrupt the survey. So thanks again, guys. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.